Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Let's Talk About Sea of Stars. I am joined here by MageORage. If you don't know what this is, I try to do these, at least for my channel, I try to do these when I finish a game and I know someone who's played the game and wants to talk about it. And I love talking about these games when I get finished with them, especially with somebody who recommends the game to me. So MageORage, thank you for joining me for this Let's Talk About. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about this gem of a game with you. Yes, I was glad to recommend.
Yeah, I actually just finished the game. Technically, like I finished it a while ago, but my uploads have finally all caught up and been done because I recorded the DLC. So officially yesterday, I believe, was the final part of the DLC uploaded, and I am now ready to talk about it. This is full on spoilers. And so if you're here with us, then definitely you know, leave a like. If you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe, and if you're on Twitch, give us a follow. So anyway, yeah, Mage, Sea of Stars. Overall thoughts, my friend. What I mean from your point of view. I mean, I know you recommended it to me, so obviously you liked it. But like what are your overall thoughts of Sea of Stars?
Um, I think Sea of Stars is a good title, especially for those of us nostalgic for the glory days of SNES and PlayStation 1 RPGs. Um, I feel like it borrows a lot from games like Chrono Trigger with the dual text, obviously, uh, and with the resurrection of Garl is
That
very
was
similar.
very Chrono. Yeah, that was very Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah, I on my stream I was freaking out. I'm like, did they just effing Chrono Garl?
They really
It,
did.
they did it. I got pretty hyped for that moment. Don't know about you, but uh no, overall I really enjoyed it. I played it co-op with my partner Scarlett, and so I thought that it was cool to have a turn-based co-op RPG.
Not many of those out there. I know that some games you could. I played a Lord of the Rings game. I think it's called The Third Age. Back in the PS2 era, where me and my girlfriend played. We tag teamed, where you controlled certain characters throughout the game. I did not get to tag team with anybody, so I kind of got to play with play everybody. How did the co-op feel?
The
Like
co-op,
mechanics wise, like in like balance wise.
it felt good. It was fun to not have to worry about learning the timing of each character's skill. Like I Valair and Moonarang were kind of Scarlet's thing, and I would do the healing on Zale. Uh, we kind of shared the other characters, but you didn't get hard locked into any one particular character except for movement on the screen. So you could move freely in the game world and then input the commands and switch between the different characters, just like a single player would.
Gotcha. It's definitely interesting. I think Final Fantasy 9 did that game actually have a two-player option that like in battle? I
The
thought
only two-player Final Fantasy I know of is 6, as it released originally on Super Nintendo as
maybe it
3.
was 6 that I'm thinking of then. I thought somebody said if you plug in a second controller, like you can split, player one, person 1 and 3 is player 1, player 2. I don't know. I might be wrong. Correct me in the comments or in the chat if I am wrong. Yeah, so we have a little bit of an outline here of what we want to do and everything like that, and so we'll just get started. So talking about the impact of this game, came out in 2003, so it's not, or I'm sorry, 2023. So it's not super old game, and as you said, it kind of harkens back to the old school jrpgs of like the SNES era and stuff like that. I actually did not have an SNES, so I didn't have a lot of those SNES memories and that nostalgia that a lot of people had for these games. And I don't know. I mean, I have here that on the first part of impact, I have nostalgia bait question mark. And I'm like, what is nostalgia bait? Like, is it nostalgia bait if it still delivers as a good game? And I would say no. This game I feel like was not nostalgia bait because it didn't look like a good JRPG and then like classic JRPG and suck. It was a good JRPG of the classic era, and it was good. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Mage?
I'm split opinion on that because it definitely did use nostalgia as a selling point. But at the same time, your point about it not being bait stands because it is a good game.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, even when you use, because even when you use bait, you still catch a fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you could catch a fish or you couldn't catch a fish. So, that is a good point where it's like it can still be nostalgia bait and still be good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
It's the why not both meme.
yeah, this is true. Why not both?
Ahoy, Blackbird 7 Twitch. Welcome to the
Yep, I
stream.
was wife to husband on their son's 10th birthday. Honey, Kevin still doesn't look like either of us. Why is that, husband? Of course he doesn't. Do you remember when we were leaving the hospital and he had his soiled diaper? You told me to go change him. Oh shit. Blackbird always with the jokes coming in. And good evening. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about Sea of Stars. So oops, wrong one. So join in the chat. That's pretty much what we're going to be focusing on is Sea of Stars. So I greatly appreciate you being here. I'm not sure if you're on. I know you jump on my channel, but I'm not sure if you're on mine or Mage's. It never tells me which Twitch channel it's on when it's in here. But so yeah. So crap. Do we feel like that this game? And I put this in here just because I had it on the Chrono Trigger notes and I decided to leave it in. Just because do you think this game had any impact on any games that are coming out now? It's been about 3 years. So it's like, do we think that Sea of Stars has made an impact on these retro games coming out that are, like, do you think that maybe Sea of Stars influenced some of the pixel remasters? I'm pretty sure that they were in development before Sea of Stars came out, but maybe Square Enix got the heard, oh wow, these people are doing a pixel remaster, or not a pixel, they're doing a pixel game and it's actually getting a lot of traction. Maybe we should do something like that. Obviously, Sabotage Studio is not as big as Square Enix, so they could obviously get their product out a lot faster if they put effort into it. Do you think that this game, even in its inception, was something that influenced like Final Fantasy pixel remasters or something? That was one of my first thoughts when I was playing this game.
I think it's definitely a strong possibility. Square Enix has been very careful to be aware of trends like this. And if it's not specifically because of Sea of Stars, it definitely came about because of the popularity of pixel art games. And Sea of Stars did get a lot of hype before it came out, and it was on a lot of people's radar.
Yep.
So I can see it being on the radar of a big company like Squeenix too.
Yeah, Squeenix. They should just call themselves Squeenix. It'd be funny.
Neither one is fully what it was before, for better or worse, after the merger.
Yeah. Obviously we've talked about it, but obviously, do you think there's any other games that influence Sea of Stars, like games that influence Sea of Stars? I mean, obviously Chrono Trigger, obviously the Final Fantasy franchise. Do you think there was any other games that you noticed that impact? I think Super Mario RPG actually might have been.
I was about to say that.
I think that, like, I got a lot, because actually it's really funny because right before I played Sea of Stars, I played Super Mario RPG for the first time, and I felt a lot of similarities there, like with the timing button mashes, not mashes, but like time button things and the defense things and everything like that. I really feel like Super Mario RPG was a big influencer on this game. Yeah. Were there any other ones that kind of stuck out to you that were like, oh, this is kind of like such and like Secret of Mana or something, or I don't know.
I did get Secret of Mana vibes while I was playing it because of being able to co-op and stuff like that.
I've never played Secret of Mana. It's on my list to play eventually, but the secret games are, or is it the Mana? Mana is it
Mana.
the Mana franchise. I definitely want to delve into that eventually, but my dock gets so freaking long, it's not even funny.
Oh, they're classics for a reason. You should definitely check them out when you have a chance.
Yep. All right, so let's jump into the story. So this is full on spoilers. We are going to be talking about deaths. We are going to be talking about revivals. We are going to be talking about all the stuff that it stuck out to us in this game, and the beat points and everything. So, if you haven't been spoiled yet, which you probably have with some of the stuff, you're going to be spoiled even more. So this is not a recommendation video. We're going to talk about everything in this from this game video. Okay, so the highlights of this game. I really, for me, one of the points that I thought was really engaging was the fact that the game took the story very seriously.
Yes.
It presents as kind of a not a kiddish game, but like not like almost like a goofy game sometimes. But like from the get-go, you could especially with Garl, and him getting his eye injured and everything like that. Like, this is not let's let your like little 5-year-old play this game. No, there's too much here for like a 5, 6, 7-year-old to really digest. Now, can they play it and have fun with it? Probably, but they're not going to get like the actual story. And I really like how seriously they took this story. They didn't let the kind of like the animation style of the pixel and everything kind of influence that. I don't know, what were your thoughts on that?
They absolutely didn't let the fact that it appears childish let them make a childish story. I feel like it was a fairly sophisticated plot. It utilized static characters, which it's hard to do static characters right. Static characters need to inspire change in the characters around them. Somebody in the story needs to be a dynamic character.
Mm-hmm.
But as it's staying to the narrative, no, definitely dark overtones, and it's a game that makes you ask questions of yourself and question, kind of what you think about sacrifice and the greater good.
And it also kind of answers that question. We'll get into this a little bit in my lowlights, but it definitely gives you the journey is the purpose of the game, not the outcome. If you know what I mean,
not the destination.
Yeah, the destination is not like with this game. It's definitely the journey, because I mean, I definitely enjoyed a lot of stuff on the way in this game. One of my lowlights, and I mean, we can still talk. We can bounce between highlights and lowlights if you want. Let's do highlights with you before I get in my one of my lowlights. What is one of your biggest highlights of this game?
That's a very good question, because it does a lot of good things. I feel like the combat mechanics are one of the highlights for sure. The timed button presses for defense and offense, I feel like, add a level of sophistication and alertness necessitation to the combat. A lot of turn-based games, it's easy to just kind of zone out and jam on the A button and win, and you absolutely can't do that in Sea of Stars.
Yeah, definitely. You cannot. I'm one of those that's like, I can put like a YouTube like documentary on or something in the background, like on Final Fantasies, and like I can grind for hours. Like I could, like, as long as I have something going on in the background, I can sit there and mash A and just grind and whatever for as long as I need to. But this game will not let you do that, and that's to its credit, because it's like you will pay attention. But that also brings up it's a later point here in the story, but it also brings up in the mechanics, like the pacing. The pacing, I feel like, in this game was like, for mechanics wise, was actually really good. I really feel like the pacing, they didn't make you feel like you had to stop and grind at any point. that, you know, that's the whole party leveling up and everything like that really drove that home, that like, listen, we don't want you to spend hours in menus. You know, like you can do some stuff with the menus, but like they're like, no, we don't want you to be spending hours in menus trying to find different combinations and blah blah blah. Like, you know, like Final Fantasy 8 or Final Fantasy 7 when you're messing with materia. I like that. I like being able to like dissect and do, but this is more of like a iPhone type setting where it's like, no, we're kind of streamlining this so that you can keep playing. And I mean, to its credit, they did it well. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of customization in the menus per se, but at the same time, I think they did a good job of making you feel like, you know, you were involved in the progression and the pacing of the characters leveling up.
Absolutely. Uh, the lack of a need to stop and hard grind is a very good point in a JRPG, at least to my mind.
Well, and I think they took that from Chrono Trigger because Chrono Trigger was the same
Absolutely.
way. You did not, I mean, even though they had individual levels instead of party levels, they still, when I played Chrono Trigger, I never felt like I had to stop and like hardcore grind. Like
No,
I did a
that
couple
perfect.
fights here and there, but like not
Mhm.
like, oh, I got to sit here for an hour, hour and a half and grind out some levels.
Right. I mean, you can start off and go train in Guardia Forest and get the load sword before you even go back to 600 AD, but you don't have to. You
Hmm.
just can.
Yep.
But no, good pacing for the story as well as pacing mechanically for the level ups. Not having to stop and grind is a very good thing because that makes the story's pacing drag inherently. If you're
Yeah.
not advancing the plot for that long of a period of time in the game, the way people have busy lives now, they're liable to forget what was going on in the plot if they spend a couple of days worth of gaming on it here and there for 30 minutes to an hour, having to grind before they can make any progress.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you know, that's pretty indicative of, and especially like today's culture where it's like everything's mobile. You know, like we would sit down like in front of a console, in front of a TV, but like you've got people that play Sea of Stars on Switch, that's mobile. I believe the Steam Deck is mobile. You know, and I don't know if it's on mobile. I don't think it is,
I don't believe so, but
but
you
still,
could play it on a phone.
yeah,
I think a powerful iPhone could definitely run the game.
yeah. So yeah, but no, you're right about the whole, you know, like people, and that's me. Like I can go, I sometimes with my busy life, and when because I was streaming this game, I um I couldn't, you know, so there would be times where it would be a week or so, even more sometimes before I'd come back to the game. And it was really nice and refreshing to just not have to again stop and grind and all that. And I mean, if I did do that, I would probably do it off stream anyway, but you know, it just was very nice. um so one of my low lights of this game, and there are very few, unless you, I mean, as I said, we can bounce back and forth between highlights and low lights.
Now
um
let's do a low light real quick.
the ending. So the ending was good, but I feel like the true ending should have been the actual ending. And you know, and I think that the true ending should have just been baked into the main story. You know what I mean? Like,
The bad ending feels really bad. It doesn't feel like anything's really concluded.
and you did, I mean, you didn't in the true ending, you didn't even face what's her face? I forgot her name now. Um
Erlina?
yeah. You didn't even face her in the true ending. You know, you just faced the Fleshmancer. And truth be told, I feel like, you know, and I mean, and it is good in the end because then you see, you know, the what is it, Brigaves and her kind of, you know, there's no closure with those two. In my opinion, there's no closure with those two characters other than they're monsters now, like, or they're Fleshmancer minions. They're deformed, like, you know, like there's no closure there. You know what I mean? Like you in the original ending, or the bad ending, or whatever you want to call it, they, you know, they beat her, and then they go and face the world eater or whatever, and that's it. roll credits. And I know that they do push you to go and do the true ending, but I just feel like, in my opinion, I just feel like the Fleshmancer boss fight should have been at the end of both endings. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like,
Yeah,
maybe if you want to do the good ending, then you do the what's her name again? I keep forgetting it.
Erlina.
Erlina. Erlina's fight, and then you do the Fleshmancer's fight in the original. But then when you go to the true ending, you just skip straight to, the Fleshmancer fight again. But then this time you do some little changes here and there to make it like the true ending. But then them two end up having their, at least being together at the end, rather than you having to kill Erlina. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just messy, and I kind of think just the true ending, those two should have been baked in together. I feel like some way. And that was kind of one of my sticking points walking out of the game, was the ending was like, because I'm me, me, I'm always one who's like running around doing all this stuff. While the game's going on. I'm not one of those that likes to finish the game and then come back. Sorry, my son just handed me a Switch to put on the charger. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, I mean, you can tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. I felt like the true. I just really felt like there was a huge disconnect between the normal ending and the true ending, and it really should have been together somehow.
I feel like it's a mixed bag. Erlina needed to pay for her hubris, I feel like.
I don't
But
disagree with you on that too. But then what about
so
Bergaves? There was pretty much no closure with him until the true
no,
ending,
there's
when you saw her, Erlina and Bergaves together. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Bergaves should have came back towards the end somehow, some way, even if it's to pull a Vegeta in the Cell Saga, where he actually like helps distract Cell for a second. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
like I feel like he should have came back and done something, even if it's talking to Erlina and talking her out. And I don't disagree. I think Erlina should have died. I feel like, I don't know, but I don't like the way it panned out.
I can see being unhappy with that ending and it not sitting well with you. Uh,
And then the World Eater just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, what? I know they probably dropped some lore bits in it. But what? I mean, did you understand it any more than I did? All I know was, hey, now there's this monster coming to this world. Like, where? It's like Omicron from, or whatever, from Final Fantasy 9. It just came out of nowhere, or Nikron. Like, it just came out of nowhere.
yeah, it kind of did. You've got a really good point there.
So
I
that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree with you, and I don't know. I got nothing. I
Okay.
thought I had something.
No, it's okay. I mean, it is. It's kind of, as I said, but that's why I say this game is more about the journey than the destination, because I was a little let down by the destination that we got to. Okay. So we kind of talked about the true ending already. We kind of talked about the pacing. Any other highlights or lowlights you want to talk about? Anything you think, like anything, like any lowlights that really stuck out in your craw a little bit?
In the puzzles, I feel like were really samey in the later parts of the game.
Okay.
Like once you got used to the rhythm of solving the puzzles, you just kind of could start seeing what you needed to do a little quicker. Maybe that's just good learning and good game design, or and I'm way off base, but they just felt a little samey to me.
I can
It's
see that.
just a nitpick. Not
I also think that with you and me and, some other gamers, it's like sometimes we've played so many of these games with these puzzles, we kind of look for those patterns, right? I think as casual players, like even semi-casual players, like they may not be able to see that. You know what I mean? Like we kind of have to take our credit where our credit's due. Is like we've been doing this a long time. We've been playing these games a lot, and sometimes it's just almost impossible to kind of stump us without like making it, too hard for like
That's a very good
casuals.
point. Yeah, that's a good point. And younger players that maybe
Yeah.
it's their first RPG.
Yeah, which I wouldn't recommend anyone to play this as their first RPG. I think this one's a little bit meaty.
Advanced for a first RPG.
Yeah. Um, but I get what you're saying, especially the DLC. And have you finished the? I don't think you finished the DLC.
There was a puzzle that made Scarlet furious, and we haven't got around to picking it back up and getting past that yet.
There were a couple of those.
See,
Yeah.
maybe that's a be careful what you wish for thing, and I should have kept my mouth shut and I tempted the universe, and the Sabotage Studios heard.
Yeah, right. They've got a time machine. They're going back in time right now to be like, oh, we got to shut this guy up. Yeah, no, but the DLC is definitely like puzzle based and just I'm going to talk just really not any spoilers, so I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but like there was definitely some good character work in that DLC, and I really feel like honestly it should have been again baked into the main story.
The characters seem to be finally having a little bit of development in the DLC.
I want to be clear, Valerie and Zale. Like I feel like all the characters. I feel like the other characters all had some good development in the main game, but Valerie and Zale had some really good development in the DLC. So go ahead, sorry.
That was basically just my final lowlife or nitpick is just the lack of development of the two static main characters. But in the DLC, they were finally getting around to having them have a little bit of growth and having a character arc. And I agree with you. Maybe they should have baked that into the original narrative instead of putting it out in even though it was free DLC, it's in DLC that not every player might play that played the original game. Some might not hear about it. Some people just, when they finish a game, they're done with it and move on.
Yeah. Just so you know, we don't have a time constraint anymore. So.
Oh no.
No, it's okay. It's just anyway. That's a production thing. You won't forget about it. Behind the scenes.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, true ending, highlights, lowlights. Okay, well, let's talk about the world or worlds, if you may. Which one was your favorite? The original or Sarai's world?
I think I like Sarai's world better.
I agree. Actually,
I feel like it has more personality.
I feel like I think it had more room for growth. I felt like the original world. What did they call it? Like, I guess I called it Homeworld and Sarai's world is basically what they call it. Yeah. Would you have wanted to see more worlds? Like, would you have wanted to see, like, let's say that they kind of went all in and they made like 4 or 5 worlds instead of just the 2. You know what I mean? Like, would that have been too much, or do you think that would have expanded the game? Like, it is good how much we got on the main planet, but like, what if they took like one of those, I don't know, like one of those areas off the home world and like made it into like a small planet, and like you actually did a little bit of exploring the different planets, kind of like have you ever played Rogue Galaxy?
Yes, I didn't complete it, but I enjoyed it immensely.
I love that game. I played it and beat it, and I actually do want to play for the channel one era in the future. I'll probably be 80 by the time I get to it, but that's another game I'd love to share with people. But like, so traveling not to like a bunch of planets, not like Kingdom Hearts levels of different planets, but like 3, 4, 5 planets, maybe, some of them on smaller scales, some of them on bigger scales, maybe make the worlds a little bit emptier, but give you more options on different worlds, kind of like what is it? Like Final Fantasy 5, I think, where you have like, there's like 3 different worlds or 4 or something like that. All look very similar, but different.
I feel like you would have to remove content from either Sarai's world or Homeworld to justify having multiple other worlds in the game. I feel like the narrative doesn't really support much more in the way of events or locations without the pacing suffering. And we both like that pacing so much. I think Sabotage was very intentional in making sure that the pacing was tight and quick with the game.
Yeah, fair enough. As I said, I was kind of iffy on both. I'm like, maybe they could have added a third, like small world in there or something. Maybe I don't know, the Fleshmancer, maybe the Fleshmancer's homeworld where you find out how to defeat him. Something like
That
something.
could have been cool.
Yeah, I mean, even the DLC, like I know what like you went into the microverse or whatever, but I'm like, I'm like, this could have been another world. Like you could have had to have gone to another planet, and then that could have been this planet. You know what I mean? Where you're investigating Keenathan's origins, and maybe Keenathan's from another planet, but a different planet than Sarai's world or Homeworld. You know what I mean? Like I thought maybe I thought that might have been because it would have definitely played on the Sea of Stars mentality.
Yeah, there's not a lot of exploring the Sea of Stars in a game called Sea of Stars.
Yeah, it's like the pothole, the water filled pothole of stars. There's just like two, the pond of stars.
There you go.
But no, I mean, I do agree with you though. You're right. Like you would definitely have to like figure out the pacing, and you'd have to figure out how to redo it. And I mean, you would take what is it, like a 40-hour game, and you'd probably have to bump it up to like 60 hours. And I feel like that kind of betrays the retro feel, because we can play games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for 150 hours and and not feel like it dragged. At least for me, I did not. But in a game like this, I definitely feel like it would it would definitely be a hard sell to like bump it from 40 to 45 hours up to like 60 hours, maybe 70 hours, depending on
You
your
would,
play style.
yeah, you would risk more of that sameness from the puzzles spreading to maybe areas or enemy types. I feel like the game did a good job of not really palette swapping enemies too much and keeping the enemies varied enough for you to constantly have to devise new strategies and figure out workarounds for their mechanics.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Did any of the cultures on the planet, either the planet, stick out to you, like good or bad?
I really like the pirate crew. So the fact and the culture in Moon Cradle, in Moon Cradle was pretty cool. I like that there's this village where the destined ones are brought, the Solstice Warriors, and these people in Moon Cradle seem to be content with their lives being about that. So I thought it was kind of a neat place.
Yeah. What do you think of Mirth once you kind of got it rolling? Like, would you have wanted more customization, or did you kind of like that it was just like, hey, you get this blueprint and you bring it back and then they take care of it? Like, would you want it to be like very customized where you can place things and do things, or did you like the fact that it was just like, hey, I'm going to bring you this thing, you do it, and then I get benefits from it, like free in or discounted weapons or whatever type of stuff, because the Mirth really harkened back for me a little bit to like Breath of Fire with the fairy village. I don't know. Have you started on the fairy village in Breath of Fire or not?
I have.
Okay.
I'm bad about remembering to go to it and manage it. My
That's
fairies
okay.
are probably all starved.
Well, I mean, um, part of me is like, yeah, I like that it's just kind of, it's already set up and you just have to bring the stuff, but at the same time I'm almost like, well, it was a little basic. And I mean, I honestly wish there was a setting where you could be like, Mirth setting, detailed or simple. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
detailed, but you have to pick at the beginning of the game or something. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, like, okay, you have simple where it's like everything's laid, the village is already laid out for you. You just have to bring the blueprints and stuff like that. Detailed is like, no, you have to bring like supplies to build things. You have, and stuff like that you pick out in the pick up in the world. And it just depends on how many layers you wanted to add to that. So I don't know
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I feel like they weren't setting out to make a game that had real town building in it, and having to come up with the mechanics for a good town building element with that sort of customization level. It'd be really easy to mess that up or make it just mid and be a detracting element from the game.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to port in, Stardew Valley. Just port in Stardew
Right.
Valley.
Add
And
a
then
dash, a sweep it in where you can recruit people for it. I would have liked to seen the inclusion of recruiting townspeople for the village.
I mean, there was a little bit, like, for like the shops and the inns and stuff. Did you get any of the
I must have, because
Yeah, there would in order for for some of the stuff to open in the village, you had to have recruited the innkeeper, the spa guy,
it did have recruitment. Why am I bitching about something that's in the game? I'm sorry.
no, but here's
It's
my
been
other thing
longer
is
since I played it than you.
it has yeah, you played it a while ago and I just finished. So yeah, everybody forgive Mage for his mind is a flutter with newer games than I'm like old and like I take forever to play games. So this is my fault. Anyway, but no, like, but there could have been other, like, you could recruit other people for the village. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It felt a bit bare bones, and that actually kind of segues into my next point is about fishing. So as a Breath of Fire guy, you know me, I love my fishing games, my fishing mechanics. And this one, again, the fishing mechanic was fine, but like what you do with it from there was just kind of like, oh, there's no real reason to even catch multiple fish other than ingredients. I feel like, and we've talked about this before, but I feel like there should have been a fillet, a keep option um that actual type of fish has a status boost or something, like increases strength for a turn or increases strength for the duration of battle. Recovers 50% HP, recovers 15% AP, something like that, like I feel like I really feel like that they could have done a little bit more there with that and not really, it didn't have to be too deep, but like every type of fish, because there's like 30, I think 30 some fish in the game. I think
Yeah.
maybe overall, like they could have done, and it just would have been an item and it actually would have been better because like there would have been fish that are just like, I don't need that. I can just fillet it. And then there's others that are like, ooh, that's a +5 AP, you know, +5 AP or MP or whatever it is in the game. Um, uh, Fish. I'm like, I want to keep that because if I need to get some MP, but then sometimes it might be better to fillet it and then just make your own dishes. So it would just add an extra element to that game. I've always liked that about the Breath of Fire games. As you know me, I love Breath of Fire, but I don't know. What were your thoughts on the fishing in general?
It's serviceable, but it could the actual process of fishing is very serviceable. Not too difficult to get the hang of. Uh Scarlet was better at it than I was. She ended up being our master angler.
Hmm.
But I think your idea for the element of the selection of how to use the ingredients of the fish as ingredients would be a cool addition.
Yeah, because I mean, you'll
But
eventually get to the point where you catch like the cannon fodder, and you can just fillet it for dishes. Like let's say it's like, this one only gives you 5 HP, or like 10 HP, like or 10% HP. You're like, I don't need that. You just fillet it, and then you can use it to make a. But then you catch something that's like, ooh, this one gives me, you know, 50% HP plus 20% AP or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like just they're just a hair of an increase in the element of the fishing. I thought it would have benefited from. And I know that they probably were like, well, they were probably thinking, well, we don't want them to sit there and fish all day. But I'm like, I can sit there and fish all day. Like, not even gonna lie, I spent an hour, like a 2.5 hour stream one time, just fishing in Breath of Fire 3 one time. So I love it.
No, it's good stuff in Breath of Fire 3 for sure.
Anything else to add about the worlds? Like, I mean, anything about the lore?
I really liked the finding the lore books and having Teeks read them. I felt like that did a good job of world building for it. You could find out details about the Fleshmancer and stuff like that through it. And
but it didn't force feed it to you.
It didn't. Yeah, you didn't have to get this ton of exposition dumped on you while you're going through the main dialogue of the game. It was something that you could seek out and enjoy if you were one of those deep lore people.
Yeah. Okay. So characters. So we're kind of just gonna run through some characters here. Who's your? I'm just gonna ask the general, like, who's your favorite from this game?
Saying Garl is low hanging fruit, so I'm gonna say Rashawn.
Mine's Sarai. I didn't like using her as much in battle, but her character arc in this game was just so good.
It was a very good arc.
And very pivotal to the plot, mind you. Like, I honestly felt like Sarai's plot. It's almost like, and remember when we did our Chrono Trigger talk about, and I said Magus is more important to the storyline than Chrono. Like, I feel like Sarai is more important to this story than even Valerie and Zale for the most part. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
I'm not taking away from Valerie and Zale. We'll get into them in a second, but like, I really feel like that this is actually more of a story about Sarai than anything else, because her planet was ravaged by the Fleshmancer first.
Yeah.
But yeah. So okay, well let's show. So I used Valerie for this play, and I know that you and Scarlet, you controlled each one. I decided to control Valerie in this game just because I really liked the way she looked. I like the presentation. I like the description of her. And I always love me a badass girl main character. I'm sorry, but I've grown up and all of the main protagonists have been dudes with either dark hair or blonde hair, and like they're either like stoic or like brooding. And I'm just like, I'm as a seasoned JRPGer, I'm kind of over that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm over the clouds and the squalls and I honestly, that's probably why I like Final Fantasy 9 so much, because Zidane is nowhere near like any of that. But anyway, so I pick Valerie because I love seeing a good, strong female protagonist that just looks badass. I'm not gonna lie. That's what sold me before I knew anything about the storyline. You know what I mean? So do you think what was your and Scarlett's take on Valerie?
Well, I already said that I feel like she's a static character and not dynamic, but I also feel like that's a good thing for the story. The other characters kind of respond to the Solstice Warriors, and Valerie, she's
Is it Valerie
very
or Valerie?
resilient.
I put down Valerie. I wonder if it auto-corrected.
I always said Valerie like there was no I in it. Maybe I was misreading it. It would make more sense for it. I was just like,
you keep going. I'm gonna look because now I'm curious. I always called her Valerie, but I don't think there was an I in there. You're right.
No, she's a good character. She's resilient of spirit. She's very much about doing her duty, and her and Zale, they didn't really bemoan their fate as Solstice warriors. Whereas Begres and Erlina, especially the latter, were chafing at it to the point where they aligned themselves with the enemy.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys.
All right, those wild and wacky guys.
What were your thoughts on Zale?
I like that he's a little more hot-headed. I feel like he makes a good compliment to her. Her little more stoic nature until pushed too far, of course. But once again, stoic character, static character, not as dynamic, that don't really have an arc until the DLC. So just once again, somebody to affect change in the characters around him and facilitate Sarai's arc and Garl's arc.
Yeah. Zale, I was always a mixed bag on Zale because I don't know. He always just seemed like, and I don't want to make this sound awful, but like he always seemed like that simp character. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if like he always seemed to be like, it's hard to describe, but like I never. I don't know. It almost got to the point where it seemed like him and Garl had a thing, and not that there's a problem with that, but I was like, do we really need a romantic entanglement? You know what I mean? Because like you have to admit, some of those lines were between Garl, like and Garl and Zale, and like just some of that stuff was like, it just felt very borderline romantic almost, and I was kind of like, I don't know if we need this. Like, go back and read some of those things with that mindset. And I'm like, I have no problem with the relationship like of two guys, but I'm just saying like it really felt like they were pushing the friendship. If they weren't pushing that narrative, it's almost like Garrick and Bashir. You know what I mean? Like it's a good dynamic until it's pushed too far.
Where if you read between the lines enough, you see what. I didn't get that vibe, but I definitely now I want to go back and watch some of my VODs and look for interactions between the two to see, because I don't think you're not the type to pull something like that out of thin air.
No, I saw it several times. Definitely definitely Zale took a lot of what happened and what was going, like especially when Garl was abducted by the dweller of whatever was in the mansion. I don't remember which one that was. But like Zale was very, and I mean, I think they might have just been portraying, hey, he's a hothead. You know what I mean? Or he's
that's how I took it.
And maybe it's just me, but I was just like, I really was like, okay, that like even Valerie, I'm gonna call her Valerie. You can call her Valir. It's like Aerith and Eris, like
right.
But you're right. There's no I in there, but I've always called her Valerie. But with her, like even she was kind of like, whoa, like we need to kind of figure this out first, like. And that might have just been they were trying to push the hothead narrative, because I didn't really get that many hot-headed vibes from him. I got sometimes I did, but like not like a lot. It always was when it was Garl. Like he didn't fly off the handle very much until like something happened to Garl, and he really seemed like he took the loss of Garl a lot worse and larger than everybody else. Again, so I mean, I just was like, okay, like so Zale, I didn't know how to take Zale for half the game. It felt like, I don't know. It didn't, as I said, it didn't bug me, but I was just kind of like, if I don't know how to read a character, I have a hard time working with them. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel like maybe that's just a lack of characterization of him, and that they tried to remedy with the DLC. Because I don't feel like there was a ton of instances for where the two mains really characterized a ton. They just kind of went with the situations and went with their fate. and dealt with this, dealt with the threats before them.
Yeah.
So that might just be the not knowing how to take him could just be a symptom of that.
Yeah. Hey, but at least they're not silent protagonists.
Right. But they still at the same time you can project onto them a little bit.
Yeah. Garl, the lovable warrior cook.
The warrior cook, the man that some people have said is a Gary Sue.
Why do they say he's a Gary Sue?
Because he's too perfect.
Yeah.
Like,
But I mean,
everybody loves Garl. Like, in the story, Garl's the best thing since sliced bread.
yeah. Yeah, I do really feel like somebody should not like Garl. Like, there's always somebody who doesn't like somebody. It was probably just
true.
it was probably the Fleshmancer. He didn't like Garl.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, Garl was fine. He was definitely a good emotional hook. Um, I I always had a feeling though there was going to be something that brought him back. I kind of lost hope when Beast came in, and I was like, "Oh, this is Garl's replacement." Um, I always was thinking that there might have been some way we would save him or bring him back or anything like that. Like, even before we got to the Chrono Trigger moment. Um, but I always thought that there was going to be a different way to bring, like, there was going to be another way to bring him back before the end of the game. Which, I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't, because it kind of makes you sit with that loss until the end. Even in Chrono Trigger, like, yeah, you can choose when you go revive Chrono, but like, like you can, it's usually early on or later on or whatever. But like in this game, they kind of forced you to sit with it until after you've beaten the final boss. Then you get the happy ending of, hey, Garl's back. But yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, he kind of is a Gary Sue. He does have a lot of good abilities. Everybody loves him. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a little bit more tension between him and maybe Rashawn, or I don't, I don't know. I think maybe Garl should have had some more like he did have a couple standoffish moments with Rashawn, because Rashawn's like, well, this is just how it is, and I can't do anything. And Garl's like, excuse me, you can do something. Like he's like, you can't. Why don't you do something in some of these instances? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Garl was a great driver of change.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, he always had the call to action, and I feel like the game is trying to say something to the player about taking a stand and doing what's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, losing him midway through the game, I honestly feel like I felt like that was good for character, like whatever character growth, even for Valerie and Zelda, the little we got with them in the main story. Um and even for like Sarai and Teeks, you know. Um so I don't know what else really to say about Garl other than glad he's back, I guess.
Glad he's back. His absence haunts the narrative, but in a good way. It's a good use of character death, which is a hard thing to pull off because you're sacrificing the potential for all the other moments that character could have to see how the loss of this character and their absence in your story is going to affect the characters around them.
Yeah.
But that gut punch, man, it hurt.
Did
I'm
you
not
did
gonna
you
lie.
did you think Garl was gonna die like before it actually happened? Like at any point, like were you like, oh, they're gonna kill this guy?
I don't think so. It kind of took me by surprise. And I think that's why it hurt me so much. Like, I teared up. It was bad. I'm like,
I don't know if I teared up, but I was cause yeah, I mean, Garl's one of those characters that I'm like the Samwise Gamgee character, where I'm like,
mhm.
I like the character, don't get me wrong, but like killing that character is a little, you know, in your face. I mean, like not in your face, but like predictable almost. Like, I don't know. It just like if they would have like had like Sarai sacrifice herself for something, you know, on her home planet or whatever. I mean, that would have probably been a little bit. I would have been like, whoa, okay, that was kind of out of nowhere. Garl's like his death and him sacrifice, especially him sacrificing for Val, because like the Fleshmancer was going to shoot at either Valerie or Zale, and like I think Garl went in between them and like shoved them out of the way, and he took it. Like it almost felt like, yeah, it almost felt like, you know, I was not surprised. Let me put it that way.
Okay. I feel like you're a little bit better at reading things and kind of guessing what's going to happen in the game. I kind of get sucked into the journey, and
I'm a forward thinker. That's all. That's my life. Like I'm always thinking about what's this going to do? How's this going to do? Why do you think I'm always like, oh, I got to do everything before I get to the end of the game? Because I'm like, well, what if this has a really good weapon that I could take into the end of the game and help me with the end of the game, you know? Like
Mhm.
so that's my curse. That's why I do everything
probably
before the end of the game.
probably a function of being a dad, having to think that far ahead to keep young people alive.
Yeah, we kind of do have to keep young people alive. It's kind of the law.
It's the law. It's frowned upon to not let the youth survive.
My kid, I usually tell my kids, I'm like, they're like, oh, what do you want? Or something about to eat, and I'm like, well, legally, I have to feed you, so I mean, you know, didn't say what I had to feed you. Okay, you okay with Garl?
Yeah.
I feel like I do Garl a disservice because I feel like everybody loves him more than I do, and I don't dislike Garl at all. I don't like, my hype is nowhere near as much as everybody else's with him, because like I see it, everybody's like, oh, Garl's, you know, the perfect character, protect Garl at all costs, and I'm like, okay. And he was. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the people that argue against Garl being a good character, their one salient point to my mind is that the game just tells you Garl is great. Like it's the characters keep outright saying, "Oh man, he's so awesome," and stuff like that. You know, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but
Yeah.
it's not like a character like, say, Tifa, where they display her good qualities without anybody ever just outright saying to her, "Well, you're a good person," but they let her sit and think that she's not.
I actually feel like they do show though a lot, like especially on the journey. Like, I mean, he had no powers, and he was like in there fighting like the
Mm.
dweller in the
They
mansion.
show too. They show and tell. The
Yeah.
critics insist that there's too much of the telling.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that 100% either. As I said, I have no problem with Garl. I think he's a good character. I just don't. I'm not as hype about him as I am the next character that we're going to talk about is Sarai. So Sarai's journey is the one that I'm like, wow, this is some meat and potatoes right here. You know, we meet her as like the captain of this ragtag crew on this floaty, like this plank boat. You know, like, and I mean, you know, yeah, like, and then she goes from being this person from another world who traveled the sea of stars to get here, you know, to this planet to find people to, you know, to stop the Fleshmancer on her world. Like, it's just, it again, like, she's one of those characters that, like, this game is more about her than anybody else. You know,
I can
when
see that argument.
we got to Sarai's world, and I was blown away at the character development that we got from Sarai. Like, I was kind of feeling in the early parts of the game, like after you got Sarai, and I'm like, oh, so she's gonna kind of just fade in the background at this point. You know, like she's a nice, like ninja, like thief type character, but like, what's she gonna do from here? And then we got to Sarai's world, and I'm like, holy shit, this is actually like really freaking good. Um, she would definitely be probably my favorite character out of the entire cast, in my opinion. Um, I don't feel like she definitely has her place too. Like, we know, when you're fighting the one dweller, and then she like basically portals in the eclipse light. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like that's a huge moment. Um, and yeah, just like everything, and like just seeing how like her planet was ravaged, seeing what happened to the people with the with the merger device or whatever it was called, the harvester. You know what I mean? Like just there's just so much there that's just like, oh my God. Like I was digging the whole Sarai thing. That's when I was really digging the story and the character. And I just they blew it wide open for me at that point. You know, because I was having fun on the adventure initially. But like once we got to Sarai's world, I was like, holy shit, like these are the stakes. And this and you know, and this is a person who lives in those stakes.
This is your world of ruin.
Yeah. It really is. And I mean, I guess that's another thing that I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, they did they did put bring that from Final Fantasy VI, which is not a bad game to borrow from, as long as you put your own spin on it.
Right?
What are your thoughts on Sarai?
I think she's a great character. Lots of growth, like you said. We initially meet her as Captain Cliche, which that cracks me up.
Yep.
Yet another resilient female character, which I think is a plus to the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see enough in the JRPG genre. You typically see female characters get damseled and
Or killed,
put
you
in
know.
peril, or killed outright. Yeah.
Yeah. Skewered by
So-
Sephiroth. But
Spoilers for a different game. But no, I don't think I can say anything that you didn't already say about Sarai.
yeah, no, she's really good. Okay. Rashawn. Why don't you start with this one? Because you said he was probably your favorite character. So why don't you? Because I've got some interesting takes on Rashawn, but I want to hear your takes first.
I like that Rashawn is a complicated character who he's very much dynamic at the end, but initially when you meet him, you think he's going to be a static character. And I like that surprise kind of change in him. I like the fact that we met him as a narrator before we met him as an active part of the game. And just that the whole concept of this sagely being who watches and records as things happen. I just thought it was really cool.
With Rashawn, I really feel like he was he was the character for me that was too much tell. You know, like when we got to him, they're like, "Oh, you're the alchemist, the alchemist. Oh my God, the alchemist!" And I'm like, "Okay, he can make potions. Can we make some potions? High potions, X potions?" And I know that there's a lot of lore, and I know if you dig into kind of the lore, you kind of see it there. But like, I feel like there should have been more there that told us how important Rashawn was before we got to him.
I can see that criticism.
The other thing I didn't like about Rashawn is I'm glad that he stayed, like his doll or whatever, his duplicate, whatever you want to call it, stayed. But I really feel like him just bailing like half like the third quarter of the game. I really didn't like that. I really felt like that we just have this lifeless Rashawn following us around now with no eyes. Like it looked like a Vivi with no eyes, and I'm like, that's not creepy at all. And I don't mind him like leaving for like a little bit, but like he left until the very, very end, like of the game. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he didn't come back until like after you beat the final bosses, whichever ending you're on. And that's why I was just kind of like, I don't get why he was that important. And I know they explained it a little bit in the story, but at the same time, I felt like there was a way to show us how important he was, whether through flashbacks, visions, something, rather than just like, again, the telling, oh, the alchemist, oh. And I'm like, Yay, the alchemist. Okay, I like his abilities. That's about it. I don't know. I mean, and if you have a counter to that, feel free. Like I just that's just my kind of take on him. Was like I was like I liked his abilities. He functionally he was a great character. And he, but him, like him and the Fleshmancer, like I would have honestly like this would have been a great opportunity for like a dual story setting, like in Final Fantasy VIII, where like you go back in time and play as Rashawn and the Fleshmancer for a little bit, and maybe cover like different areas. Since they're borrowing from JRPGs, why not do that here, where you're like working with, or you can do what is it, Sarai's world before it became that bad, or whatever world they were on, they were originally from. Because I'm trying to remember the lore is with those two is just the Fleshmancer and the Alchemist is just so confusing. Like, did they start off on Sarai's world? Were they from another world first? Like, I
They
don't feel
leave
like
a lot of that open ended.
exactly, and that's what I'm saying is like I really wish they would have shown us, and I feel like that had something to do with the World Eater. But again, I kind of wish they would have shown us some of that.
I don't really have a good counter. I see your point. Uh, like I said before, I just thought he was cool. I really liked that the fact that he wants to be this non-interventionary character who reluctantly intervenes in the situation. I like that aspect of the character.
Oh, he was very reluctant because I think Sarai's the one who forced him to intervene. That's when the Fleshmancer came about.
Yeah,
Because didn't she like cut the hourglass off of his thing and it hit the and then it hit the dweller, and then that's when the Fleshmancer came in.
I believe you're right.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to say he's a terrible character. Like there were definitely some moments I liked about him. Again, I can't complain about any of these characters really. Like all of them are good,
It's a
but
good ensemble cast.
yeah, but I definitely had some issues with Rashawn, probably more so than anyone else. And those were my issues. As I said, if somebody just likes him, because he's cool and he's got good abilities, hey, that's fair enough. You know what I mean? Like I liked his abilities too. I trust me, I had him in my party a lot of the time, even when he was a doll. So, anything else on Rashawn?
Said my piece.
Okay. Beast. I liked Beast. I liked the kind of some of the lore from Sarai's world that he brought. Definitely very dark origin of that character. But still, like I mean, it fits the dark tone, especially on Sarai's world.
Yeah.
And I felt like he had enough to do that justified him, even though he came in. He's not like an Amarant. Like he wasn't like an Amarant who came in like in Final Fantasy IX, like disc 3 or end of disc 2 or wherever he came in, and like he did like one beat after he came in the party, and that's it. Like I felt like Beast, they made really good use of Beast in that party.
Hard agree. Hard agree about Amarant being wasted potential type of character. He came in too late for you to get any sort of attachment to him, and they didn't really do anything with him in the latter half of the game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I felt like they kind of fixed that problem with Beast because, again, he felt very imperative to the storyline and he felt very involved in the storyline. He just wasn't there as another party member.
Right. He was important narratively too.
Yeah. But I don't really have. I mean, functionally, he was great. I liked his abilities and stuff. I liked a lot of his abilities with Valerie and Zale. I felt like they were functionally very good.
Yeah. Great mechanically speaking.
Yeah, mechanically, that's the word I'm looking for. What do you think of the living glass thing? Like, sometimes I was kind of like, okay, like this is weird, but I guess it's magic, so whatever. Like I don't know. What were your thoughts on that?
A little out there, but there's a lot in the game that was a little out there, so I just kind of took it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it just made it easier to explain certain like things with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like You know, like he wasn't stuck in one form or whatever. So yeah, but I was kind of sometimes I was just like, wait a minute, like he turns into a wheel when he's tightrope walking. I'm like, really? We gotta turn into a. I think the devs were just like, how many weird like pixel models can we make of this guy? What was the other? There was another weird one that I don't remember. I think it was when he's like sliding against the wall. He turns into something weird, and I don't remember what it was. Um, I thought it would have been hilarious if he like turned into like a mountain goat, like walking along the ledges. But I don't know. Yeah, there was other ones. I just yeah, some of those were weird. I'm just like, okay, I see what you guys are doing. You're having fun, and that's fine. It's good to have fun in the game. Um. Okay. Anything else about Beast though? I mean, as I said, there's not much to say about him other than I felt like he was worth it.
Worth it for sure. Worthy replacement mechanically wise to Garl.
Yeah, that
He
is a very good
is your
point.
new tank. He was pretty solid. Could take a hit. Could dish it out too, though. Good for canceling.
Hmm.
Loved breaking some locks.
Yeah, we needed that. So we're coming into like not main cast characters, but so what was your thoughts on Teeks?
As somebody who studied history in school, I can appreciate a secret society of important historians. I thought that it was cool to have her along. I I don't know why the devs had to decide the place for the follower party members were cargo, but I digress. Odd choice. But no, having this historian around that you need to find the lore books, and then when you find them, she reads them out, and you get little info dumps about the world that kind of build it for you. I liked her.
Okay. Did we see any other historians throughout the game though? Like was
I
she
don't
the
think so. She was the only one.
So the only thing that I have an issue with that on is I liked her. I liked Teeks and I liked her what she did for the game per se, like the lore. I just wish we would have seen another one. Like either that or went back to her home village or something where we got a little bit like almost like a Gongaga thing where like you don't spend much time there, but you know this place is important. And I feel
Okay.
like even if it was a, like just a quick stop in a town with like a couple houses, whether all of these people are historians or whether they're just people, I don't know if it's like a title that's given to them or like a like, some like a power that's bestowed upon them, but like just giving Teeks a little bit more depth might have been nice in my opinion. Um
Read.
but I did like her. I thought she was cute. And I loved like when she went crazy and she like zipped around people, like when she's like looking like, I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. I thought that was hilarious.
Nice little bit of personality.
Yeah. She reminds me of Momo. Like that, and I love Momo from Breath of Fire 3.
Momo is best girl.
She is best girl. And she has a bazooka.
I don't mess around with her.
So next one I have is like the Fleshmancer. Do you have anything to add about the Fleshmancer we haven't already said? I've already said my piece about I really wish they would have fleshed out the alchemist and the Fleshmancer story better, like throughout the game. But that's kind of really, and I really feel like I was going to talk about this in the ending, like when we break down some of the story beats. But like I really feel like the Fleshmancer should have died at the end. In both endings he didn't die, and I'm like, I I think he should have died.
It's more satisfying when you take out a big bad. I agree. Uh, I think they were trying to leave it open for sequel possibility.
Yeah, but
But
I'd see if we did a sequel, I don't want the Fleshmancer again. I'd want some other threat. I'd want some other thing. And they kind of with the
yeah,
true ending or with the ending and the true ending, they really didn't leave it open for a sequel, only with the fact of there's no stakes because we know the planet's not destroyed or
yeah.
anything like that. The World Eater doesn't, because you see old Garl, you see old Teeks, you see old who's the other old one that's there? I don't remember who the other old person was that was there. There was three. Oh no, who was it? there was three old people at the very end, like when they were building the monument to
Hmm.
the Solstice Warriors or whatever they were doing. Like in the true ending, it was Garl, Teeks, and somebody else, and I don't remember who the third person was. I don't think it was Sarai. I think Sarai was back on her world. But anyway, um, but yeah. So long story long. I don't know. I just kind of feel like sequel almost, unless you do like a generational skip, like even after like hundreds of years or even 100 years after the end of this game, it's just kind of almost going to be pointless because it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. I feel like they need to move on. Like the Solstice Wars, you can have Valerie and Zale come back, but then there's a whole other cast of characters because it's hundreds of years later. Because at the end of the game, and I was going to talk about this at the ending portion of the story, but like, there would be no stakes with the Fleshmancer coming back at this point for a direct sequel. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think they would try to do a direct sequel, and if they did, I do think they would have it happen in the future, the
Yeah.
far future.
And that's kind of what I think they were going with that very end credit scene where, with the old people, like they basically want to say, hey, this is the end of the story of these guys, but we're leaving it open for Valerie and Zale to come back in the future because they obviously had not returned. Well, they had returned. They fly by every solstice or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, they were kind of doing that whole like, well, they're still out there somewhere.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
But yeah, my only thing about the Fleshmancer is I think he should have died. Any other side characters you want to talk about before we move on? I mean, the pirate crew, they were fun. I can't necessarily say that like they were like awesome, but like I thought that they were fun and they were interesting. I always wondered how not Keenathan, who's the other one? The guy who rips his shirt and then he just comes back. Like what kind of magic? Baltrade, yeah. What kind of magic does he have? To bring that.
I don't know, but it's powerful.
I know, right? He's like Piccolo. He just brings it back. Hello, Agent Tim Gamer.
Welcome to the stream.
Somewhere in the unknown. That's right. Into the unknown. Any other side characters you can think of that you wanted to talk about? I mean, none really jumped to mind for me. I'm sure there's someone, but
I like them. I like the pirates. What can I say? I thought they were all pretty funny, especially Yolanda.
Yeah, Yolanda was funny. She's like the female Smitty or Smee of.
Yes.
So,
the lady of many specialties.
Yep. Sorry. All right. I don't know if you still have the bullet points, bro, but we just have I just want to talk a little bit about the story and then we can wrap this up. So we've got, I kind of broke down the story into like the couple major parts that happen, and you can, we can talk about any of them. Like it doesn't have to be just these ones. But the journey's beginning. How did you feel about the like opening sequence when like from Garl getting hurt to them going and training at the Solstice Academy to then them heading out, Erlina and Bergaves kind of like being their heroes and all? Like, how did you feel about that entire like beginning intro type, like Harry Potter setting?
I like the segments in Mooncradle and at the Academy. I feel like it was intriguing. It got me kind of pulled into the game. I was psyched to get to know this world that seemed kind of like our own, but very fantastical at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it dragged a little bit, but I see what you're saying. For me, a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, like the first 10% of this game, I felt like it dragged a little bit, but then once you kind of got off that first continent, it kind of picked up a little bit, and I'm like, okay, this I can do.
I can see the criticism.
Yeah.
It's definitely slower paced in the beginning than it is later on in the second and third acts.
And normally I'm okay with slower pacing. You know, I like digging in and oh my god, I like digging in. I felt like I almost feel like the Academy montage, like it was just a montage. You didn't actually get to do anything with it. You know what I mean? Like I just
Mhm.
felt like I felt like they could have done more with it rather than than just kind of have it as a montage of make a man out of you from Mulan. Let's get down to business to
To
defeat
defeat
the
the
dwellers. Um, yeah, but I don't know. I Once we got off that first continent, whatever island, whatever you want to call it, I felt like it kind of picked up. Um, so the next major beat, unless you have something else to talk about at the beginning, um, the betrayal. So the next big beat, in my opinion, is the mansion, the betrayal, like all that stuff. That's when the game really kicked into high gear, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Um, I'm very disappointed about this betrayal and subsequent usage of these characters. I'm Again, like I said earlier, you don't see Bergaves at all, and he was very resistant to some of the stuff that Erlina was doing. But he was still going along with it. Um, I just feel like they really undersold that betrayal. Like even at a even mid like the last quarter of the game, I felt like we should have revisited Erlina and Bergaves like majorly, either defeating them or at least having another. I know that we had another fight with them. What was it, at the clock tower? I think, right, or the clock mansion or whatever it was called.
Mhm.
But still, I really feel like we should have been fighting them maybe on Sarai's world when we first got there, or at least close to when we first got there. I really feel like that they kind of shortchanged those two characters, and their betrayal almost became a afterthought until like, oh yeah, Erlena's here. And as I said, you didn't even see Bergaves in any way, shape, or form. I felt like that their contribution to the story was just irrelevant after the betrayal.
I, I get that. I really do. They're largely absent for the entire second act, and it's wasted potential.
Yeah. So that was kind of my thoughts on the betrayal. I really liked the betrayal when it happened. I thought it was like, ooh, this
Mhm.
is very interesting, and I really like this. I think this is going to be really good. And then we never saw them again. I said until the very end of the game, and I'm like, even if like with Erlina, if we fought her a couple times after that, and you kind of like saw like the physical changes starting to happen with her, and then we get to the end of the game and that fight with her, and then we see like the major like, oh, this is what she's been corrupted into, like, and even Bergaves was changed. You
Mhm.
kind of saw that in that after credit, but again, we don't get like, even when we see him. I'm trying to remember when we saw him again. We saw him again somewhere, but he wasn't really. I think he was just kind of like a side note character. Like he kind of popped out of a place and was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" or whatever. Like, it wasn't it heading towards the clock tower mansion. Like I think it was right around there.
I think so, yeah.
So
But no, wasted potential. They could have done some more with them. Maybe made them kind of like the Turks, where you see
yeah,
them repeatedly.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, as I said, and then they could have like with their little character models, we could have seen the physical changes in them start to happen, and even in their sprite models. You know what I mean? Like little things here and there, and then all of a sudden, as you see them a couple more times, it's like, oh, and I mean, we don't even have to fight them every time we see them. You could cut to them with some something, and then you see more changes, like little changes, and then as I said, as you get to the end of the game, oh, they're completely corrupted. You know,
I
so.
think they didn't do that because they wanted to shock us with the transformations.
Yeah, I would have more for me, I would have more appreciated, you know, I would have more appreciated seeing the transition happen and the corruption happen, watching them become more disillusioned, into the Fleshmancer's cult. But that's just me.
No, I can see it. I can see wanting that for sure.
Anything else about that, or
No,
okay?
Just unexpected betrayal that then doesn't really go anywhere, kind of peters out.
Yeah. And honestly, even if the Fleshmancer killed them, you know what I mean? Like they betray them, and then the Fleshman, like you honestly could have done that, and almost nothing would have changed for the rest of the game. That's what I mean. Like there was no consequence to, besides fighting her at the Erlina at the end of the game. There's not much consequence. Okay, Garl's death. That's the next major moment in this game. So this was another point. I think that was just, I think a lot, like, as I said, with Garl's death, it was, for me, it was kind of expected. Like, I wasn't surprised. I won't say it was expected, but I wasn't surprised. But a lot happened at this point, when they were facing the Dweller. Was it the Dweller? No, the Dweller of Woe was the first one, right? I don't remember. There's so many different Dwellers.
I think it was Woe.
The one with the one that looks like the bat, like with the bat wings. Looks like the one-eyed Batwing thing from Final Fantasy, and I can never remember what it's actually called.
Ahriman?
Yeah, the Ahriman. Yep. Yeah, it looks like an Ahriman. But yeah, like everything surrounding Garl's death. So I mean, obviously a lot happened there. There was a lot that from that moment when they fought that Dweller to Garl's actual death, because a lot happened between there too. Like there was a lot of, like, they went to the sky people, the Sky Fortress, whatever. They were trying to gain access to the Sea of Stars. They baked the big thing of bread, which I was like, I thought we were gonna ride the dragon. I was like, dude, we're riding like as a an actual vessel, like as an airship.
Mode of conveyance.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna ride the dragon. And then we didn't. And I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks.
A little bit.
Anything you want to talk? I mean, as I said, for me, that time in the game, honestly, like nothing, it wasn't bad, but it just, honestly, I was there for the story, and not much really stuck out to me other than, I don't know, just the thematical weight of what was going on at that point. But it seemed, but those parts meant more to, like, they seem like you got more emotionally invested. So that's why I want to hear from you about those parts. I mean, we've already talked about.
They were bittersweet. Garl helping us achieve the goal, even though he has limited time. Just that sort of sacrifice is very intrinsic to the kind of character they wrote him as.
Yeah.
Just that loyal to the end, ride or die friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, as I said, that's where I kept on getting those vibes of like Zale, and like having feelings for Garl and all this other stuff. And again, not that I care, but that's where I'm like, okay, like there's just a lot there that they're not really talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like maybe that's more my issue with it, is like there was a lot there that they didn't talk about. They left a lot of emotional baggage on the table, I felt.
I think they were going for one of those haunt the narrative kind of things, where his loss was felt and continually throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, because they spent a lot of time grieving. Like, wasn't it like a month? Because their time passed like for a while before they actually got back on their quest. So I mean, I do like the fact that time passed. I'm always one of those people that, like, I hate it when a game takes place over like a week or two. I'm like, I like games that actually have time skips in them, where like there's actually like the narrative gaps in time where it's like, okay, there's time for this world to sit in the, like, in Final Fantasy VI, when you go to the World of Ruin, they've been in that world for a year by the time Celeste comes, actually makes it off the island and stuff like that. Like, there's there's a lot there when you like let people just sit in something.
Yeah.
Even Breath of Fire, there's like a what 7, 8, 9 year time jump where Ryu grows up.
Yeah, it's not specified, but it's about that long. He grows up and goes from being
Like a
like
7-year-old to like a
a early adult.
yeah, an early like 16, 17-year-old. Um but I do like that they took them like and they kind of gave you what it was a montage, but it was a good montage of just showing you how they sat in it for a while and how they finally pulled themselves out of it. And I thought that they did a really good job with Valerie and Zoe. That was actually one of the moments of like character growth that I was like, "Ooh, I like this. Like this is some good character growth for these two characters." You know what I mean? So I really thought they did a good job with that.
They did. It was their one bit of growth in the main game, but it was well done.
Yeah. Okay, so the next part is I titled it Distant World. So obviously Sarai's world. You they go through the Sea of Stars, you go through the whole thing. I know that me and you commented privately back when we were going through there, and like there's just so weird to like you're going to like the center of the planet to like go out into space, and we were like, there's probably some kind of like Far Eastern mythology, something behind that. I thought it was very interesting. I really thought that, that the way that you got to the Sea of Stars by, you went further down and down and down, and then you get to go out into space. It's like, this is some really, it was really good. I was really surprised by it.
Oh yeah, definitely surprising. Definitely not what you would expect. And I feel like this game struck a good balance of things that are familiar, but also things that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah. And as I said, like I feel like the game really the character stride for Sarai just blew up when they got
Hmm.
to Sarai's world. I mean, and as it should have because it's her world. But still, like and just the ruined world and everything, and you basically had to kind of not rebuild the world, but like heal the world. Because you had to get rid of the clouds, and then you had to get the moon out of the ocean and all the. So it's like, sorry about
Oh,
that.
Riker is upset.
My daughter might be home. Um, but yeah, so like, and that kind of leads into the next point I also have of global restoration. The next point I had
Hmm.
was like I really like that we literally had to pull this world out of its like apocalyptic state in order to heal the world, like and get it going again. When you see when the people like in Sarai's home village. I don't remember what it's called, um, but you even say like they're just like the moon. Should I hope? Like once the clouds went away, they're like, oh, we can, the sun. You know what I mean? Like they're just like they're just so lost and just they don't know if they should hope or not. And I really felt that with these characters.
They really reminded me of the denizens of 2300 AD in Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, and that's yeah. They really probably yeah they really did. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. They do really a lot. Um, but the one thing I liked is that we weren't erasing that timeline. With
No,
we were actually restoring the planet. You know what I mean? Like
you
in
don't undo consequences. Consequences are permanent in this world.
but you can still like recover and still do the best you can. You
And
know.
that says a lot about life.
Hmm. Yep. I don't know anything else about like like the Sarai's world, that whole like thing on Sarai's world from that point to the end, towards the end.
And no, I think we covered it.
And then the ending, which I've already talked a little bit about for my sake, whereas I felt very underwhelmed by the end. I just again, I really feel like that the true ending and the regular ending should have been baked in together somehow. Um, I really feel like the casual players will not go for all the stuff you need to get the true ending. And I get it, it's Garl coming back as a reward for those who play, but I feel like Garl coming back was very important to the narrative of what happened. You know what I mean? And I also feel like the Fleshmancer just didn't pay for any of it, any consequence, like he didn't have any consequences from, for what he did or anything that he was doing. Rashawn just kind of shows up at the end. Like I really felt and then the world eater shows up, and it's just I really just felt underwhelmed by the ending. Not underwhelmed, just like dissatisfied. I mean, that's really the only word that I can really say is like it's not that they didn't like wrap up all the narrative things. I just was very dissatisfied about the way it ended. Because like they tried to make it a feel good moment with the alchemist at Rashawn and the Fleshmancer like leaving and basically saying, "Oh well, this is their world now." I'm like, no, I want to kill that motherfucker. Like I wanted the Fleshmancer to burn.
I can get that, but I think the game maybe is trying to say something about forgiveness in that moment.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a point, especially with the Fleshmancer, with everything he did. Look what he did to the
Yeah,
people in Sarai's world. I feel like there's like, I mean, and the alchemist just sitting idly beside and not doing anything about it, like his non-intervention. And like there are consequences for people who do nothing, and there are
this
also
is true.
and there should be consequences, obviously, for people who do bad things. You know what I mean? Like so
I
that
don't disagree with that.
and I get what they were going for with those two characters. Like, oh, they're beyond even the Solstice Warriors, blah blah blah. Like, you didn't you they even wanted to make it, oh, you can't kill the Fleshmancer. He's too powerful even for the Solstice Warriors to technically kill. And that's what they were going for. But they're like, well, you made him take a step back, so he respects you, so now he's going to leave. And it's like, no, we don't, like in Final Fantasy, mission 1 is saving a cat. Mission, end boss is killing a god. You know what I mean? Like that's JRPG right there. So, and again, if they were just going for a sequel, I felt like they did a bad job of it because they have the post-credit scene with all of those people being old, and they even stated that the Solstice Warriors have not been back. So I just feel like narratively the Fleshmancer should have been done. I just that's
I
just
can agree with that.
so yeah, if anything, like if I were to give this game a rating, like I would give it an 8.
Same.
Only because the one major tick that I would take for is the ending. Just because, yeah, I just really felt like they built, and then the other major tick is the characters of Erlina and Bergaves. They just really dropped the ball on them, in my opinion. I really felt like those could have been a driving force throughout the whole game, and they just were like, well, they betrayed you, so bye.
Valid criticisms.
Oh, you know what I would have added to the game? I would have added Bergaves and Erlina going back to Mooncradle and burning it to the ground.
Like the raising of the Shire.
Yep, exactly. I feel, but I mean, but the difference from the burning of the Shire is, Erlina and Bergaves, they grew up there, like they were a part of
Yeah.
that. Whereas Saruman and Wormtongue weren't even a part of the Shire. But like
No, it
that
would.
would have been the ultimate betrayal. That would have been like another narrative moment where you're just like, oh, these guys are lost. Like,
Yeah, it would really sell the irredeemability.
yeah. But that was the other point I wanted to make about the betrayal is like that's one thing that I would have added is like them going back and just destroying Mooncradle, destroying the academy, because you didn't do much like at Mooncradle or the academy really besides Garl's funeral after you leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's like a couple items that you can get here or there, like after you leave. But like honestly, I just didn't feel like you did much there afterwards. So I felt like narratively burning it to the ground, or at least attacking it. You know what I mean? At least attacking it and destroying at the very least the academy would have been another statement moment where it was like, oh, these guys are, oh god, these guys are gone. Then you would have had people that you could take to Mirth, because Mooncradle's been destroyed. Any survivors. It would have also sold the weight of like, the destruction in the world.
I don't disagree with you on that. I think that could have been a good way to take the plot.
So I know I'm just turning this 40-hour game into like a 100-hour game, but yeah, I just feel like they could have
But
narratively put it in there and made it work better than other parts.
agreed, and it just shows what a good job they did mechanically and with the rest of the plot if you
Mhm.
want more of the game. And I feel like it did kind of leave us wanting more. It didn't outstay its welcome.
Yeah. And then the final point, I added this later on, just about and I think I already said this about the DLC. I really think the DLC should have been like a separate planet baked into the main game, because the DLC did a lot of character work on the two Solstice Warriors, and it also added Artie, and I really liked Artie. I like Artie a lot, actually. He's one of the side characters that I meant to bring up earlier and I forgot. Um, where when they merge, by like all those characters merge and then
Mhm.
become Artie. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed Artie, actually, mechanically and personality wise. I thought he was really cool. But I feel like that DLC, again, like going into the microverse was cool. It was different, yes. But again, in a game called Sea of Stars, you went to two planets. I feel like there should have been a
Mhm.
couple. Like that microverse should have, like, we'll just call it the Keenathan planet. Like, let's say it was the Keenathan planet, should have been, them. And then obviously, as I said, like the Fleshmancer's planet, a small part, like detour right before the end of the game, where you're like, we're going here to figure out how to defeat the Fleshmancer. I feel like it would have given you 4 planets then in this pond of stars. Like, so anyway, anything else to add? Anything you wish you would have seen in this game? And any other parts of my tangent you want to correct or anything?
No, I don't really have anything else to add.
Okay. Um. So yeah, this has been our chat about. This has been our chat about Sea of Stars. Uh, MageORage. Tell us where everyone can find you, please, just in case if they're watching on my stuff.
Well, if you want to find me somewhere other than Milquetoast Gaming, I have my own YouTube channel, MageORage TV. You can also find me on Twitch under the same name.
You should definitely subscribe on YouTube and follow him on Twitch. He is a phenomenal streamer. He streams a lot of time. He streams way more than I do. So if you want to see somebody with good quality and quantity of content, definitely subscribe and follow MageORage.
Oh, you're too kind,
Um,
my friend.
and yeah, and for me, I mean, if you're watching this on MageORage's stuff, Milquetoast Gaming, it's just like it sounds. And yeah, I mean, just I did retro JRPGs. I do a lot of Star Trek content. I play some modern games that I want to play. Those are mostly YouTube exclusive stuff. But yeah, so with all that being said, Mage, this is it. This is the end of Sea of Stars for us. Well, at least for me. I mean, but overall, I think it was a worthwhile game, a worthwhile adventure. It'll be interesting to see if this game has the same impact on kids in like 10 years as it did with us on some of these games growing up. I don't know with the change in media the way it is, but I definitely feel like this game has a potential to like really shape some young minds into a JRPG mindset.
I agree with that statement. It'll be interesting to see how it ends up being remembered 10, 20 years down the line. I'm really glad you enjoyed it, though. It's always my pleasure to see my friends enjoy the same stuff that I think is good stuff.
Yep, very much so. Right now, I'm playing Clair Obscure Expedition 33 upon MageORage's Wish from the Dragon. I am also, I think, on my list of yours that you gave me, I have Lunar Silver Star Story that I think that I have. I'm gonna probably play. I think about 1 or 2 games before I play that. But
Okay.
so yeah, so there's plenty of stuff between our two channels that people can watch. So with all that being said, everybody, thank you very much for joining us here today. Please like, share, and subscribe to both of our channels. Mage, it's always a pleasure, and I will catch you in the next one.